Hello, my name is Michael Varhola, and I run a game development company called Skirmisher Publishing and a small charitable organization called the Gnosis Project. In 2022, I went to Ukraine as a civilian volunteer, and during October and November of that year participated in humanitarian activities that included delivering medical equipment, food, and winter coats to children in threatened areas. Before I was a publisher, I was a soldier and served as a U.S. Army infantryman in what was then known as West Germany, and am proud to have been part of the NATO alliance that held the line against the Soviet Union and its vassal states during the Cold War. Then, a few years after that, I was recalled to active duty and served during the Gulf War as a member of a U.S. Army Special Operations Command team attached to the 3rd Armored Division and spent time in Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, a lot of what I saw in Ukraine reminded me of things I had experienced during the Gulf War, and the worst of it for me was the impact of war on children in particular. And one of the most serious threats to children trapped in Ukraine, especially those in parts of it that have been occupied or fought over, is the presence of landmines and unexploded ordnance like grenades, fuses, firing devices, and submunitions. Kids in areas we were active in were getting blown up by these sorts of devices every day when I was in Iraq. And the same thing is happening today to children in many parts of Ukraine. And when I spoke with some of the leaders of Ukraine SOS, one of the country's emergency services agencies, they said that this is a problem they are particularly concerned about. In response to this tragic and frightening situation, my skirmisher and Gnosis colleagues and I decided to develop a kids' activity book focused on identifying, being aware of, and avoiding landmines and other explosive hazards. This book contains a number of things designed to engage children and reinforce these messages, including 24 coloring book images, a simple board game, and some puzzles. As soon as we are able to finalize this activity book, we will have as many copies as possible of it printed and begin distributing them throughout Ukraine, particularly to schools, shelters, churches, and community centers in the eastern half of the country. Thank you. We appreciate your support for this project and the difference it will make in the lives of some of the most vulnerable people affected by the ongoing war in Ukraine. Sometimes it's hard to tell just how much of an impact our efforts can have on bad situations, but this is one where we know that with your help, even as little as $5, we can make a real difference.